Hello, everyone. Welcome to our presentation session. My name is Kiều Huyền Trâm, and my colleague is Dr. Võ Đoàn Thơ, and we are from University of Economics, Ho Chi Minh City. Our research topic is teacher concerns with blended learning adoption, a Vietnamese perspective. So in our presentation, we're going to lead you through the main sections of our research: literature review, research context, theoretical framework, methodology, findings, discussions, and finally, conclusion and recommendations. Firstly, about literature review, we devoted this section to talking about blended learning. So as you know, blended learning is not a new terminology. In fact, it is a buzzword, especially after the pandemic. There are two most frequently cited definitions by Graham and Garrison and Khan. According to Graham 2006, blended learning system combine face-to-face instruction with computer-mediated instruction. And the second definition states that blended learning is thoughtful integration of classroom face-to-face learning experiences with the online learning experiences. So the second definition is a little bit narrower with the quality element of the thoughtful integration of the two modes. However, how thoughtful is still ambiguous. So blended learning refers to a spectrum, and it covers all modes of technology-mediated learning, except pure online and pure traditional face-to-face learning. Some people find it really problematic. However, many scholars argue that flexibility of the blended learning should be maintained because of flexibility can encourage innovation and uniqueness of each institution. Yeah. Now, please, let's have a look at the scenario of blended learning research. So benefits of blended learning has become something undeniable. It is proof that blended learning can encourage students' engagement, motivation, collaboration, autonomy, increase student learning outcome, and it can offer flexibility, cost efficiency, and personalization as well. However, there seems to be a saturation of research measuring the effectiveness of blended learning and research looking into blended learning from students' perceptions. But what matters now is whether or not we should implement blended learning, because blended learning has become a trend in our digital era. What matters now is how can we implement it successfully. So a great deal of research agree that the focus of the research should shift from bottom-up small-scale, individual and classroom setting into institutional adoption studies. So now let's talk about institutional blending. Institutional blending is a big change. It's a sizable change concerning with the change in the lecturer professional practice. Yeah. So when it comes to an institutional innovation, the role of lecturers is very important, as teachers are concerned as the change agent of any innovation. So if teachers are reluctant, they are uncertain about blended learning, that may lead to the resistance to blended learning adoption, right? So now, please look at blended learning in Vietnamese context. So blended learning is not a new concept at all. However, it is at an early stage of development in Vietnam, even though there are so many papers focusing on the effectiveness of blended learning. There are limited research focusing on blended learning acceptance, and most of the papers come from students' perspectives, not teachers' perspective. And under the effect of COVID-19 pandemic, blended learning has attracted much more attention, and many Vietnamese universities now want to integrate blended learning into their long-term practice, not a short-term temporary solution to pandemic. And in reality, many universities have launched e-learning to support blended learning. They use Moodle as a platform software for learning management system, shortened as LMS. However, the quality of the courses on LMS is questionable because in most cases, teachers just use LMS as a channel to upload learning materials. So that's why Tang and Tien 2020 concluded that purely traditional face-to-face learning is deep in the mind of learners. And yeah, that's really concerning. Now, please zoom in to have a better glance at the institution that we focus on in our research. So in this school, blended learning project proposal mandating blended learning has been approved. And in this school, they are focusing on upgrading the technological infrastructure and training teachers about its pedagogy. They are piloting the implementation to get ready for the official and comprehensive adoption next year. But when we look at the proposal thoroughly, and we cannot identify any section addressing the teachers' concerns. Yeah, so that's why we decided to conduct a research to fulfill the gap. And our research will focus on two questions. Number one, what are teachers' status concerns toward blended learning implementation? And question number two is, how are teachers concerned about the implementation of blended learning? And to answer the question, we try to employ a strong underpinning theory that is CBAM. CBAM is shortened for Concerned-Based Adoption Model. It's originated from Fuller work in 1969. According to Fuller, the diffusion of innovation can be identified by looking into the user concerns. And Fuller argued that there are three stages of concerns: self-concerns, task concerns, and impact concerns. The model later was first proposed by Hall in 1973. Yeah, and now the model has been widely used in educational contexts. The principle, the core of the model is that, sorry, can you back up a little bit, please? Yeah, so the principle here is that change is not an event. Change is a process. Change is a personal. Change is developmental growth in feelings and skills, and change occurs in stages. The model consists of three diagnostic dimensions, or three tools. The first one is status of concerns. It's a questionnaire that we use in this research. And the next one, the level of use, interview protocol. And finally, the innovation configuration, as kind of roadmap of innovation. And in this research, we focus on status of concerns. Yeah, so what are the status of concerns? According to Hall and Hart, there are four types of concerns: unrelated concerns, self-concerns, task concerns, and impact concerns. And each type of concern corresponds to 1, 2, or 3 stages. In stage 0, awareness, the individual have a little knowledge or little interest in learning about the innovation. In stage 1, informational, the individual interested in learning more about innovation. They want to know more, they want to get more information about the innovation. And in stage 2, called personal, the individual really uncertain about the demands and the requirement of innovation. They are not competent. They think that they're not competent enough to meet the needs of the innovation. And in stage 3, namely management, the individual have a concerns about logistics, administration, organization, and resources. They may care about time management, about the rewards and the challenges of the innovation. And in stage 4, consequence, the user cares about the outcomes of innovation. And in education, teacher cares about student learning outcomes, their motivation, their interactions in class, for example. And in stage 4, that is collaboration. The individual really is interested in working with other people to make the change workable, make the change happen. And the most advanced stage is stage 6, refocusing. The individual at this stage really interested in modifying, adapting the innovation. At that time, they are very competent in using the innovation and they want to develop it or even replace with a better innovation. And the next section should be methodology, and I'll handle to my colleague from here, Dr. Volranto.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Pham. Hello, everyone. And let me continue with some details about how we conducted our study and what findings that we have had from data analysis. So this study utilized an explanatory sequential mixed methods research design, including 2 stages. And in the first stage, we carried out a survey using a state of concern questionnaire to explore the concerns profile of the teachers. And in the second stage, we conducted semi-structured interviews with the teacher participants involved. And the findings from the questionnaire and the interviews were then compared and complemented. Here is some information about the participants. To recruit participants for the current research, we sent out the questionnaires to every full-time lecturer of the university, except the physical education teachers, due to their limited use of blended learning. And we received 178 content forms of research participation. However, there are 13 responsible are not applicable to the questionnaire. So finally, we officially included 165 participants, which accounts for 35% of the total number of full-time teachers at the university. As you can see on the screen, here's some details about the participants. Now let's move on to the data collection process. To collect quantitative data of teachers' concerns toward blended learning implementation, we adopted state of concern questionnaire. As Ms. Trump mentioned in the theoretical framework, the questionnaire is used to investigate 7 stages of concern of education innovation adopted. And each stage consists of 5 items, and there are a total of 35 items listed in a mixed order. And the item use an 8-point Likert scale, indicating the increasing intensity of concerns. The validity and reliability of this widely used questionnaire has been confirmed in various studies already. And as you can see on the screen, this is the result from the Cronbach alpha that we have run to validate the reliability of the questionnaire. And the internal reliability of the employed questionnaire were examined. And you can see that each the numbers from 0.71 to 0.86, which suggest that the questionnaires have satisfactory reliability. And for qualitative data, we conducted 16 semi-structured interviews, and each was approximately 1 hour long. And the interview sessions were conducted online using Google Meet due to the COVID-19 pandemic situation. And we recorded all the session with the agreement of the participants. And let's talk a little bit about data analysis. As you can see, in terms of our quantitative data, we use SPSS software to measure the Cronbach alpha coefficients of 35 items of our Vietnamese questionnaire to validate the instrument and produce the statistic descriptive of the data. And for the qualitative data, we conducted the coding process independently. After that, two researchers will compare the result of the coding process and the categories and the themes as well as some common patterns will be compared and complemented. And here are some findings that we have found from data analysis. Let's talk a little bit about the first research question. Teachers' stages of concern towards blended learning implementation. The survey findings reviewed a state of concern profiles of the teachers from the percentile score of 7 stages of concerns. And as you can see in the screen, this is the general blended learning concern pattern of the teachers. The results show that the participants had the highest percentile points of 89 in stage 1 information and the least percentile point of 60 in stage 4 consequence and stage 5 collaboration. In particular, the teachers expressed the biggest concern in stage 1, closely followed by stage 0, awareness, and stage 2, personal. And their concerns slightly dropped in stage 3, management, followed by stage 6, refocusing, and then stage 4 and stage 5. One of the most noticeable thing is that the time, it means the difference of only 1 or 2 percentile points of the 3 first stages. It means stage 0, stage 1, and stage 2, which were the most intense stages of the concern. This indicates that the high concerns of the faculty members were unrelated concerns and self concerns, including information, and personal concerns. So now let's talk about the second research question. Teachers' concerns about blended learning. Firstly, let's start with the stage 0, talking about the awareness of the teachers related to blended learning implementation. The teachers define themselves as non-users and novices or pre-intermediate users. So they got information about blended learning from some training course offered by the university, but they still felt confused about the policies of implementing blended learning at the university. Secondly, talking about information, the teachers were uncertain about the demand, their roles and their responsibilities in the implementation of blended learning at the university. That's the reason why they express their little confidence in their understanding of blended learning. Some teachers, when being asked about their understanding of blended learning, they didn't know how to give the proper answer. That's the reason why many of them had a strong desire to know more about blended learning. Thirdly, about personal concern, this is one of the key concern of the teachers participating in our research. They showed little confidence in their technological competence. That's the reason why they even express their reluctant feelings to implement a blended learning, or show anxiety about the institutional policy of promoting blended learning. And talking about management, the teachers were concerned about the innovations management, time, and logistical aspects, and they felt overwhelmed with the number of tasks and responsibilities they had to conduct when implementing blended learning in their teaching processes. With stage 4 consequence, although a few teachers expressed their concerns related to the consequences of implementing blended learning, they were also worried about the impact of this new teaching approach on student performance. And they felt worried about student autonomy when studying with this new teaching approach. And talking about collaboration, the teachers expressed their enthusiasm in collaborating with other teachers in designing materials, creating activities, or curating teaching and learning tasks, for example. However, they felt doubtful about collaboration with teachers from different disciplines. Last but not least, talking about refocusing, the teachers were worried about how to make the approach fit their own teaching context and characteristics of their different students. So not many teachers make full modification of the approach, but they try to adapt their teaching practices using this approach with their personal context and the characteristic of their own students. So from these findings, you can see that the blended learning, although blended learning has been launched at the university, it has not been integrated fully yet into the institutional culture and structure. However, there is a positive signal that we can see from the findings that the teachers participants are moving from non-user to the early phase of inexperienced user of blended learning. And this raises some implications for not only policymakers, but also for teachers, participants. Yeah, there is a call for the need of the synergy between the top-down and the bottom-up policy of implementing blended learning at the institution that in our study. There's also there also a focus on the significance of not only sufficient support, but also professional development opportunities provided to teachers and the aid for policymakers. They can design more effective activities or interventions to address hindering concerns and gradually institutionalize blended learning. So in conclusion, our study is expected to be one of the pioneering studies using CBAM model, and we would like to diagnose the blended learning adoption in the Vietnamese setting. And we hope that the results of our study would help to reinforce the consistency of CBAM theory in the early adoption phase of innovation. And we also want to alert change facilitators and blended learning researchers about hindering concerns and contributing to shaping better implementation of roadmaps of integrating blended learning in educational institutions. And that's all for our presentation. Thank you so much for your listening. And here are some references that we use in our study. Thank you.
Thank you.